All right, welcome back to the channel. It's a subject I can't avoid, so you gotta lean into it. Devin Haney, Devin the Dream Haney, the WBC lightweight champion of the world, says that he is sick of it and sounds like he is ready to walk away from the negotiations with Gary Russell Jr. That is very interesting coming from the youngest promoter in the history of the game. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. So, what a show. What a big drama show. Big drama, like GGG say, big drama show. Devin Haney, Gary Russell Jr., will the fight get made? Who's ducking? Who's capping? Who's flaw? All of those other slang words that I never use. All that good old stuff. Big ass circus. Big old circus. All to come around to most likely the fight not happening. And quite honestly, this winds up right where it should have been, right where I thought it was when it started. With the fight not happening. Let me explain why. And Devin Haney, though, unfortunately, has to take an unnecessary hit to his reputation. Completely unnecessary, completely avoidable, absolutely ridiculous situation to be in type hit to his reputation. And let me tell you what that is. That is that he is the youngest promoter in the history of boxing. We can now eliminate that from whether or not we believe that is true. Let me explain. When I first heard of Devin Haney, Devin Haney had a promotional company. He came out with a promotional company, and he was like, this young businessman. That's how it was being sold. And I was like, all right, cool. That's really cool. And I saw that he's working with his dad. And all through this negotiation, though, I did not see Devin Haney, except for when Devin Haney was asked to speak a couple times on a couple channels, but it was pretty much always in some type of damage control type of situation, right? So I really did get the perspective that, no, Devin Haney is a young fighter that is a world champion, and that is what he focuses his time on, like I thought was the case when he was 18 or 19 or whenever somebody was trying to tell me that this is both a boxing prodigy and also the youngest graduate of Harvard Business School ever known, right? These guys that are these promoters, these guys like Lou DiBella, these guys like Bob Arum, these guys like Al Heyman, these that work. Al Heyman, I know, is not a promoter, but he's working in it. These guys, all three of those guys that I just named are Ivy League. They're Ivy League postgraduate, right? So they didn't just get undergraduates at Harvard. All these dudes got either law degrees or MBAs from Harvard. It was real hard for me to believe that an 18-year-old, 19-year-old guy had that level of sophistication, or even say the sophistication of a Richard Schaefer, who before doing his job as a promoter was a Swiss investment banker, right? Very, very good with math, very good with numbers, very good with rules, professionals. So suffice it to say, through this negotiation that we saw prior to Devin Haney saying that he was sick of it, and hey, if you don't have anything soon, I'm walking away. Before that happened, Devin Haney, in my opinion, getting away from the father, the promoter, everybody else, right? If the buck stops with the owner of the promotional company, then the owner of the promotional company is where the buck stops. If you are top rank and some crap goes really, really wrong at top rank, the person that is responsible for that is Bob Arum. You know who it is. If Showtime Sports goes sideways and something goes wrong, you know exactly who you need to blame. You have to blame Steven Espinoza. If something really, really wrong goes at Mayweather Promotions, who do you have to point the finger to? You point the finger to Floyd Mayweather Jr. So since it is Devin Haney Promotions and this fight doesn't come through, then you have to look at the CEO and the owner of Devin Haney Promotions, regardless of whether he is 19, 17, 22, 33, 105, or whatever. Doesn't matter. Judge him on the merits of the business decisions that you see being made. And I have to say, nah, man, you're in a good position. You're a young dude. You got an opportunity to learn and continue to grow. And I have no doubt that eventually one day you're going to be an amazing businessman, provided that you learn, take a negotiations course, a formal negotiations course, take accounting courses, right? You don't have to go to college to go get the accounting courses, but take some accounting courses, take yourself some marketing courses. You can get all of these things online in your spare time and build up your base of knowledge in the business, in the profession of businessman. And what does that mean? Somebody that is operating an organization where you have both human resources responsibilities to your employees and you have a service that you are providing to your customer. Once you get that level of business acumen, then, man, you can be one of the best top dudes around, no doubt about it. But as of right now, you made big boo-boo. Made big boo-boo. Made big boo-boo. Calling for a fight with Gervonta Davis, calling for a fight. And I feel like this is deja vu. Like this has happened before. Like this was I've seen this before. I'm sure I have. However, when you say for $1.5 million, we have $1.5 million. When you say you have $1.5 million and there's a million people listening, they're going to believe that you actually have $1.5 million in your bank account that you readily can pay somebody for a fight. They will not assume that it is Mayweather Promotions money. They will not assume that there's any stipulations attached to it, like different options or fight dates. Like if you're going to say that you call somebody out and you're in the middle of your camp training for a date for a fight against somebody else that has already been selected, then maybe before you do that, you make sure that you have the flexibility to change your date, or you have the flexibility to increase your money if you need it. Because, hey, you say 1.5, that's an initial offer. You know what people are going to do off an initial offer. Might go to 2. You don't give an offer to somebody at the top of what you're able to provide, right? Because then it's just, hey, it's 1.5, take it or leave it. And most people are not going to believe it. They're going to believe that you're negotiating. So they're going to ask for a little bit more. But regardless, you have to be able to live up to what you say. Also, you have your agents. You have people that work for you that have the ability to bind you. Many people don't understand that, but that is the truth. If a reasonable person believes that somebody is speaking in your stead and they rely upon that and they rely upon them for something, dude, you're stuck because they have agency. For example, when Terence Crawford said that B-Mac or whatever, was on his, he could be himself. He could be, he's not speaking for Terence Crawford, but, he's allowing him just to be him. That's because that was an important distinction to be made. Because if it wasn't very clear that Terence Crawford's guy was not speaking for Terence Crawford, but if he was on Terence Crawford's channel with Terence Crawford right next to him saying he spoke with Terence Crawford, then people could hold Terence Crawford responsible for that because it matters what other people believe. Other people believe, whether a reasonable person would have believed that person was able to bind you into an agreement. So, but in order to be a world-class promoter, you have to understand that. You have to understand the concept of agency and how they can bind you and what can happen. Just like you need to know you need to know what your schedule is for your fights and how much money is actually available for the fight. before you get on public and start talking about that stuff. And why do I mention the agency? Because the agency thing is important because it came back to bite Devin. Because his father, who was his agent, in a conversation with BFTB, said that if this fight didn't get made, it had to be a duck on for one guy or the other. So if that's the case, that means that if you, Devin Haney, walk away from the fight for whatever reason, because there was no caveats put on, there was no conditions put on it. You know what I mean? There was no conditions put on it. There was no, if there's a fair offer on the table, right? Like if this fight doesn't get made, somebody has to be a duck, provided that the dates work for both people. That's not what was said. What was said was that. And since Devin Haney is the one that is talking about people, he has a date and he's got to make this decision, so or he's got to fight somebody else, then that's Devin Haney that called the fight off. And by his dad's own definition, that's Devin Haney the duck. But all of this is related to kind of piss poor promotion, man. That's pretty much, you know what I mean? And if you're going to be the promoter, and if Devin Haney's the promoter, Devin Haney's got to get his act together and start running his own organization and making these type of decisions and thinking these things all the way through, or at least consult with his father on a regular basis, so that can come true. However this worked, it seemed like a young man that just got led around by the nose and got led around by the nose into something that did not go very well. That's my take on the circumstance. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.